In 1828, Iran was humiliated by the Russian Empire, who captured Iranian territory in the regions of Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan, and pressured the Iranian monarchy into signing an unequal treaty, which gave Russia indirect control over Iran's economy. Iran was unable to resist the modern army of the Russian Empire, and the Iranians felt humiliated. The anger of the Iranian people culminated in 1829, when Alexander Griboyedov, who was the Russian ambassador of Iran, was murdered in the Iranian capital of Tehran. However, Russian influence in Iran continued, and anyone who spoke out against the Russian-backed Iranian king known as Muhammad Shah was imprisoned or killed. During this period, various Iranian intellectuals began calling for a change to the system of rule in Iran, which was characterized by despotism, corruption, and subservience to Russia. In the year 1837, an Iranian writer known as Mirza Saleh Shirazi established Iran's first ever newspaper, known as Kagh-e-Akhbar, in which he called for the creation of a constitution and an elected parliament. This inspired many other Iranians to call for a constitution which would put an end to the absolute monarchy in Iran. However, the Iranian constitutional movement remained underground for many decades due to severe government repression. For example, many political reformers and ministers such as Qaim Maqam Farhani and Amir Kabir were executed by King Nasruddin Shah due to Russian and British pressure, as reforms would mean that they would no longer have control over Iranian markets. The Iranian journalist known as Muhammad Hussein Adib Isfahani, who lived during the time of King Nasruddin Shah, stated, "During the era of Nasruddin Shah, if anyone mentioned the law, he would be arrested, exiled, and harassed." Therefore, Iranians realized that calling for reforms was not enough, and they had to take violent action. In 1896, King Nasruddin Shah was assassinated. However, he was succeeded by King Muzaffaruddin Shah, who continued granting concessions to Russian and British companies and continued ignoring the immense poverty in Iran. During this period, many Iranians were still reluctant to launch a full-scale revolution as they feared the power of the Russian Empire, which was a strong supporter of the Iranian monarchy. However, the Iranian spirit for revolution was reignited in 1905, when Russia faced a humiliating defeat at the hands of the Japanese army. Therefore, the myth of the invincibility of the Russian army was destroyed, and Iranians began calling for a full-scale revolution against the Russian-backed monarchy. Iranians from various different sections of society participated in the Iranian Constitutional Revolution. Religious leaders such as Sayyid Muhammad Tabatabai, tribal leaders such as Sardar Asad Bakhtiyari, army officers such as Sattar Khan, writers such as Ahmed Kasravi, and journalists such as Mirza Malkam Khan all participated in drafting a constitution which represented all Iranians. Iranians began openly protesting and calling for King Muzaffaruddin to implement and issue the constitution. However, the king initially ignored their demands due to Russian pressure. Tensions further increased after the Iranian government allowed a Russian bank to be constructed on top of a Muslim cemetery. During the construction of the bank, bones from the cemetery were carelessly dumped in a well. In retaliation to this disrespectful and insulting act, a group of Iranians attacked and destroyed the bank which was under construction. Violent riots erupted across the country, and the people threatened to overthrow the king if he did not comply with their demands. Therefore, Muzaffaruddin Shah had no choice but to agree to the demands of the Iranian people. As a result, parliamentary elections were held in September 1906, and Iran's first ever constitution was issued. However, King Muzaffaruddin Shah died 10 days after signing the constitution and was succeeded by Muhammad Ali Mirza, who abolished the constitution and dissolved the parliament. As a result, the Iranian people picked up their weapons and began an armed rebellion against the Russian-backed monarchy. Because many Iranian soldiers had defected from the army and joined the rebellion, the king requested the help of the Russian commander known as Colonel Lyakov, who entered Iran with thousands of Russian troops in order to try and crush the rebellion. However, the Iranian rebels defeated Colonel Lyakov and forced him to leave Iran. The rebels took control of the king's palace and removed him from power on 16th July 1909, replacing him with his son. The revolutionaries re-established the constitution and removed Russian influence from Iran. Russia was no longer powerful enough for a war with Iran due to internal instability in Russia. The Iranian Constitutional Revolution was highly successful in achieving many reforms, such as freedom of press, freedom of religion, and the prevention of foreigners and military personnel from voting in elections. It was also successful in ending decades of corruption and Russian influence in Iran. However, in the decades that followed, British influence began to creep into Iran. The constitution was eventually abolished in 1925 after the British-backed dictator Reza Shah came to power in a military coup.